Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Ross on Cars. I'm Ross Furlong and this is the Classic Car Show at the NEC. Today I'm just going to be looking around the show to see what are my favourite cars. It's going to be a bit of a nostalgia trip. I've already spotted something that my dad used to own over here on the Lotus stand, so let's go and have a look at that 80s classic first. So I'm just here on the Club Lotus stand and I spotted a bright red 1988 Lotus Excel. Now, the reason I spotted this or caught my eye is that my dad had one back in the day. It was his kind of midlife crisis car, if you like. And I remember it very well because I was 17, I just passed my license, and he did let me drive it very occasionally. And it was a lovely thing to drive and quite the looker back in 1986, 87, that kind of era. This one I think is a bit later. It's been adapted by a guy from Lotus Bits, so it's got a few kind of upgrades on it. New spoiler. He moved the wing mirrors down from the mirrors to the bodywork, and the vents on the front are a little different, but it's still a very good looking car. So that's my number one pick for today, and let's go and find number two. Right, so car number two is this Fiat Panda from 1989 belonging to Sean Mugan. It's a 4x4 version, quite rare. Farmers love these things, they're brilliant off-road. And the reason I've chosen it is because my mum had one, at least not the 4x4 version, she had the Mark 1, and I learned to drive in it. So you don't often see these cars, brilliant to see it at the show. Good car number two for me. So car number three is this Porsche 991 Club Coupe, one of only 13 in the world. The rarest production car, it says on the sticker. This is in the auction section, and a guide price of between 185 and 250,000. It's a beautiful looking thing in this kind of dark racing green, and my dad actually bought me a model of this when it first came out, so I've got it sitting on my mantelpiece at home, but I've never seen one in the flesh, and my word, doesn't disappoint. What a lovely car. Right, so car number four is this Aston Martin from 1935. It's the Mark II. It's owned by a guy called Tony Miller. And it was the first ever Aston Martin spy car. It used to run missions into Germany in this. It had the front modified to look like a Gestapo staff car, and also the engine note changed so that when he went up to borders in the dark, they assumed he was a German. Lovely looking thing, this, in this sort of red. Reminds me a bit of an Aston Martin Ulster. But yeah, car number four, the first Aston Martin spy car. Right, so car number five, you might laugh, but this is NOS Princess. I love these things. My dad had three of them, so it's all part of my childhood. He had one in white, then purple, then blue, I remember. And when it came out, it really was seen as being a kind of a radical design. It was this kind of radical wedge shape, the Austin Princess. And just really great to see it, sit in it. I kind of want to sit in the back, just to try and remember what it was like when I was whatever age it was, in the back of these things. But brilliant to see on the stand. Right, so Jaguar purist, look away now. This is a 1956 Mark 7 Jag. It's a hot rod, of course. It's been completely redesigned, but I think it might possibly be the best looking car at the show. 450 brake horsepower, modern suspension, lovely interior, just beautiful. Right, so car 7 is this Citroen 2CV Diane. A Dolly version with this red and white distinctive. I know it particularly well because an ex-girlfriend had one of these, and I left the oil filler cap off on a trip down to London, and it broke down. So yeah, I do remember this car. I also had a Citroen Diane at university, so I've got a soft spot for 2CVs. This one's got a nice story behind it. It was stolen from a house that's in Manchester and completely stripped of all its panels. So it's been lovingly restored back to its former glory. It's about a 1990, I think. It's a G-Reg. The car's called Georgie. Of course, these cars always have names, don't they? That's right. Car 8 is a Peugeot 1.9 205 GTI. Of course, the 1.9 version was the one to have, not the 1.6. And I remember a friend of mine had one of these, and he stacked it into a roundabout in London after about 3 years of owning it. Not sure how many of them have survived, but this is a very nice looking example, and also very collectible these days, of course. So yeah, the Peugeot 205 1.9, the legend of the 90s. So the penultimate car today is this very lovely Bristol 405 from 1955. Of course, Bristol Airplane Company started making these after the war. The first model they made was the 401, this is the 405, and it's all aluminium, and there's a light in the grille that I love. It's brilliant having that in the front. This very same car was here 40 years ago, apparently. This when the show started. This car was on the stand, so it's lovely to see. And lovely to see Bristol back at the Classic Car Show. Right, so this is my 10th and final car of the day. It's fitting, really. It's the 70th anniversary of the SL, Mercedes SL, and this behind me is a 1954. It's the convertible version of the Gullwing. I can't tell you an awful lot more about that, other than it's absolutely beautiful, and it has skis on the back. So what's not to like? I hope you enjoyed that episode of Ross on Cars. If you did, press like down below and subscribe because there are lots of fantastic cars coming up before Christmas. Hope to see you next time.